good morning, my neighbors. Welcome to another episode of BYTTT. Oh, looks like we have a little bit of a camera issue. No, okay, that's what I didn't do. Alright, let's get that going and fix this problem. Alright, this should fix it. That's what happens when you run a little behind. Come on, baby. Let's get there. Alright, there it is. Hey, welcome. Welcome to another episode of BYTTD. Before you take the trade, let's go ahead and get to the charts. I am running behind. I overslept a little bit, so let's go ahead and check out these charts. Let's speed through the commodities because I want to kind of like break down something to you. So the first thing I want to talk about, let's squeeze this in. Alright, that looks good. Alright, first thing I want to break down is the fact that we have NQ that is trying to make its way back up, fill the gap. We kind of started in this bottom register, so I'm very curious on what they're looking for. We could go ahead and look at this in a perspective kind of like this and see what they do with that. Okay. All right, and then we got ourselves oil. Oil kind of looks like this. They try to get up into that upper register. Now, if you didn't know, they finally said the area where most of Iranian oil comes from, they shut down the strait. So that kind of made the oil market kind of bounce up, something violent, but you could see right there, they brought it right back down again. So very, very heavy selling in that upper register. So it's going to be very interesting kind of see where the market goes today. Oops, wrong button. Let's get that back. All right, CM. All right, and then we got ourselves gold. Gold is just really consolidated, saying vicious. I think I'm gonna get rid of these lines because we've been kind of torn with gold for a little bit, and now it's gonna be a little bit confusing. So we're gonna just do that. I like where gold is for another bounce again, because we never really broke this down. So I would love to see it come back to this register because then we could really use some real key support, and that should be our bounce. We'll see how July holds that up. Silver, you already know, chart silver, don't trade it. And you could kind of see it kind of looks similar to how gold is, right? Kind of like selling a little bit. Major move to the downside over here to kind of catch up to it. But this is the one that I explained. It was going to put that bearish divergence. So I want to see some follow through to this. And that could be the one that drags us right to that upward trend line to see gold bounce. British pound kind of looks like this. They're trying to put some pressure on the dollar, but they're failing, so that should be strengthening the dollar. This is ES, and you can kind of see nice little push up here after a major rejection, kind of like what you saw with NQ. Nothing's going on with small cap, so I think there is some cash that's being thrown into your major caps, and we'll see how that holds up. And then the last one, it is British U.S. dollar, the infamous U.S. dollar. We are sitting on top of its order block. I think this is going to give us a nice low solid reset. So we'll see how the market responds to this. Nice low bounce off this order block. Let's see if the dollar can get into that 100 level again. But that's where the 50 EMA sits, and probably give us a little bit of an opportunity to get some cheaper discounts on some of your favorite tickers. All right, so now we kind of got all of that out of the way. So, you know what, let's go ahead and look at this. I had a major hit. Lost like $600 on my trade station, but I am currently top 4%, still kind of sitting there. Looks like this guy fell off a cliff again. He had made up quite a good chunk, but he was like the #1 leader. But we'll see what happens. We've got 6 days left on this competition. But yeah, I really want to see what this dollar does because it's going to really put some pressure to some of our favorite tickets. That's why I'm kind of racing to get through the commodities, is because I want to kind of take a peek at some of our favorites, especially with next month's earnings cycle is coming in. I apologize. I'm like drained. I actually worked last night, worked at like 3 o'clock in the morning. So if I sound like I'm a little stretching and yawning to get myself wide awake, like I said, I did oversleep a little bit. Then bear with me on that. So let's go ahead and run into these tickers. The first one we're going to talk about is Netflix. Now Netflix, I already explained this. It looks like they're trying to get into this area to get some more higher highs. I think Netflix is a little tired, right? Major move, solid move that you want from a ticker. But if I was playing Netflix to the upside, I probably waiting on the sidelines for a better price. This one was solid, but you don't know if this is going to be a strong one that's going to hold. So you want to see this thing get tested again. Maybe 1189 is one that I would be looking for. I don't know if we're going to get into that 1000 area because the 50 moving average is sitting right there. The daily is kind of a little exhausted, so they want to push it up. And yeah, it really needs a pullback. Let's see what happens there. Another one is Meta. This one had a major run, very solid run. I would never take anything away from Meta, but I wanted it to close above 700 so I can play more to the upside because I thought this uptrend was going to be strong enough. But you could kind of see the market is giving a major sell-off at the end of the day, and we recovered some of it, but it didn't recover all of it. So let's see how 930 responds to it. And then Microsoft, that was the other one I'm very curious about. Microsoft has been just slowly drifting up, and I thought Quad Witcher was the one that's going to give that massive sell-off that brings it down, allowing for proper reset. But again, this is going to be something that's going to be very tricky for the market to be able to operate and be able to continue to the upside. What else I got? Oh, Tesla. Tesla has a nice little push up, but I do think that it needed a little bit of a bounce. I want to see it close above 350, but a bounce without a stronger pullback and might get to that 350 and then reject. So no pullback, no 350. That's how I kind of see it. All right, and then let's get into something a little bit more cost effective. Let's talk about the oil ones like CVX. Now I've seen some articles where everybody's asking, well, is where can oil stop and where can they go? To be honest, I don't think oil is gonna go anywhere super far, because of the way the oil markets look. It needs a reset. If we go back to CL, they're begging for that reset. Lots of selling pressure. And of course, CVX, on the other hand, it is one that has other things, like they have biofuels and all types of other things that they're working on. So they don't really need to have only oil because they have multiple ways of making money. But I did say we could probably get into this gap last week and looking for that to actually come to fruition. Another one that's in oil is ZOM. It's inside of its gap. Could they just get the fill of the gap on ZOM and then it drop, and it probably brings CVX down with it? Very possible. Very curious on how the market want to respond. And with the war out there, usually something crazy usually happens. All right. So let's go ahead and do a little bit more of an in-depth, because last week when I did the second month of the cycle, we was kind of running out of time and I kind of sped through it. So I'm going to start around the 150 level and work my way down. That way we can kind of work on some of these tickers and you can kind of get a little bit of an update. The first one is NVIDIA. NVIDIA, where it is, it's one that you never want to count NVIDIA. You don't want to sell NVIDIA. I do think I want to sit to the sideline and wait for NVIDIA to give me a better price. I think I could get one under 140 is where I would want to be in if I did decide for me to get inside of NVIDIA. So look for a pullback there. This is Palantir. Palantir does need a little bit of a reset. I want to see it touch this trend line before I push it up. Clorox, listen, I don't know what's going on with Clorox at this point. I think they need to find a way to get their bounce back. I think we're more towards the bottom, like we're already there, than we are to the top. I do think if I draw some trend lines, we probably could get some much of an idea. Let's see. Here is our peak here. There. Yeah, this thing is dropping something very vicious. And these angles are just so vertical. It's running out of making any real spread across. I think this is priming for a run to the upside. I don't know if it's going to give you a run where it's going to be something extreme, like, maybe get some new highs. But I can tell you this, all these deviations that we keep making to the downside eventually is going to stop making them, and the individuals in here are going to be like, all right, enough is enough, and now I think we can buy it up. Of course, we're going to wait for institutions to be the first ones to do that. We are not institutions, so I think we are closer to the bottom by multiple ways. And if we could take like 3 or 4 of them out, like get to like 129, that would be kind of cool to see. So look for that. And I think when you're going to get that 129 is when we get through this 127. And depending on how strong the build up, maybe get into 132 with the 50 moving average. So this is going to be very fun to see. All right, this is D-Dog. That's the pullback I was looking for D-Dog. We can readjust this trend line. I would say don't get into this ticker yet. Come on, where are you? Okay, it's right there. Because it's not ready for the most part. But this is the pullback that I was looking for. This is your higher low that made a higher high. For us to get to this gap, we need to hold some support that's right around here. And I think it's very possible we could get that bounce. North of 134 would be a good entry to get into that 150 if that actually holds. But this pullback in the pre-market is very helpful for us to go ahead and get a nice little solid pull. Let's call it 123, 124. That probably will be the level that they're going to bounce off of. Reddit, this is one that I find questionable. Still trying to figure out how people are still investing in this. It had a massive move to the upside, and they are starting to turn a profit. I get that. But now it needs a little bit of a push to the downside. I think that's what this hammer is. And you could see here, they try to get inside of this gap. Maybe they're going to get there, sell some friends, and then push to that upside. Look for that. Disney. Disney is one that I really want to see more of a pullback too. Get into that 118. Maybe we could get that towards the end of June, and then July is our pop on Disney. AMD. AMD, I've read articles on this. Everybody's starting to pile into AMD. I'm a big proponent of buy the rumors, sell the news. And the news that's coming out is saying that people are buying, and it makes me question a lot here. So look for this to kind of pull back a little bit, maybe into like 120s, maybe 125, maybe higher, maybe 125 550 to maybe 124, somewhere around there. A nice little pullback to that, and then we could take out this gap and then kind of get into that block. So look for that for AMD. Dell, this one I think they want this gap. It's on the trend line already. This could be a nice little play already, do it especially with this pullback, and then just hold Dell until it fills 140. I would say give it 3 months, maybe. Give it 3 months. Shopify. Shopify needs a little bit more of a pullback. We are in the upper register on the MACD, so I still think it's bullish. But this is a nice little pullback already, and I think they already aligned the trend line and they broke through. So a nice little pullback to like maybe 50 or 200. Then we can take this imbalance that got rejected when they tried the first time. Crocs is one that I can't wait for this thing to just go ahead and burn. But it's sitting on top of an order block. This thing is probably going to go ahead and continue to the upside. They're looking for this gap. They peel part of it. This order block is probably to reload, and then they're going to get the rest of the gap, bringing us to 140, 135-ish, give or take, from this $98 level. So if you're confident in Crocs and you're a fan of it, this could be a nice little entry for more upside. Roblox has been drifting up. I think it needs a pullback. We're going to leave that one alone. Walmart, strong one. It's breaking out of a downtrend. Maybe they're making a micro push to the upside, which is using this area here and try to get back into the original trend. Very interesting on the MACD. Very interesting on stochastic. Look for Walmart to break $100. Chinese stocks, Uber needed that pullback. I think they're more closer to their bottom than the top, so I would like to see how they hold this level at 82. Hood has been making nice little strides. I think it needs to pull back to like 70, 66, and then we can get another bounce to go ahead and take it out. But be careful with a lot of these ones. I'm like pull back and go back up. Hood is the same one. We're putting in bearish divergence. Anything could make the bottom fall out. Uranium with CCJ. This is a good ticker if you want to get into that clean space. Nice solid uptrend. If I do multiple deviations of this trend, you can kind of see it's very, very strong. Nice little retracement to the trend line will be good to kind of give us a nice little push. I want to see CCJ get back into the 70s and 80s, but you can kind of see bearish divergences are all over the place of this. Make sure you wait for the pullback. Buy now, pay here. Buy now, pay here. Buy now, pay later. Is probably looking for the break above that 65. Holding this level, got strong support. If we can break above that 65, they can put some pressure on that fair value gap. Because I think that was the reason why they're up here in the first place, was that fair value gap. But you can see that rejection back in June 11 is why we're down here. So look for this thing to break off the high and see if they can get up there. Same thing with Upstart. Upstart is trying to break out of its area. This is my 800 EMA. So I would say north of $60. I would look for it to get into that $75 level. CMG, I do think it's closer to its bottom than it is to its top. Nice little micro trend right here as new investors are coming in. And this ticker has made a massive split, 20 to 1. And I think it's scaring some investors. They're trying to find a base. I think this is a solid base. $50 psychological level, 5s and 0s. I've already broke that down to y'all. And this could be a nice little move. All right, what else we got? We got Oxy. Oxy, same thing with CVX and ZOM. I want to see what they do when they break out of these tops, fill the gap. Wayfair, hard to trade. Toast, DraftKings, I am looking for this to finish its run. Again, they do return money to shareholders a little bit. Not here. I think it's here. Yeah, from here. Because it's usually when all your Super Bowls and NBA Finals and all that stuff is when it makes its run. I'm looking for this thing to pull back a little bit before it actually makes a move to the upside. So look for DraftKings around $37. And then towards December, get back into that 50. Not Dr. Pepper, that's something for personal consumption, not Fiverr. Lyft is getting his butt whipped because Uber is taking all the market share. I would love to see Rivian get above $14. That would get filled into that 15. Ford, when it moves, but let me not give that to y'all right now. Snap, their advertising space is getting completely dismantled. Doesn't return money to shareholders, and that's why people probably running off the cliff. Cleveland Cliffs, talking about cliffs. This one is already putting in its divergences and it's pulling back. I think they want this gap to get into that 580. Again, not returning money to shareholders. So this is the bottom of the basement. I would love for it to give a nice little push. Peloton, this thing is being pushed by its fair value gap. I think we could fill right back into it and then get above $8, but we'll see. And then last one is Lucid. It's at the bottom of the barrel. I think it has more upside than downside because it's been down here for so long. But again, it is the trash can. All right. So that said, I kind of wanted to go over these commodities. I know we ran a little behind today. Let's go ahead and talk about this week's news so you can be fully prepared. My FX book is one of my favorites. Okay, come on, my FX book. There we go. All right, it's one of my favorites. I know everybody uses their own, but I just started with this and I like it. All right, so we got global PMI that's going to be released at 9:45 with existing home sales. Again, this is a very, very heavy week, and I'm going to explain. All right, so this is how we're starting off the week. And then tomorrow, with inflation data coming up from the international side, we're going to get Schiller's House Pricing Index. And then right here is Jay Powell's testimony at 10 a.m. mixed in with consumer confidence. That's going to be really, really tricky to navigate. A few things are again like this 2-year note. That's going to be something that they're going to be selling. Then you're going to get these follow-up speeches from his underlings or the ones that are not Fed chiefs. Let me not say underlings. That just sounds so terrible. He's the chairman, and then he has other people that they kind of vote and talk and discuss. You know, we are a democracy sometimes. All right, but yeah, so mortgage rates, that has very little effect. And then you got more testimony. So you're going to get day 2 of that testimony mixed in with oil inventory, 17-week bill auction, and then you got a 5-year note that's going to play a factor as well. This is the one that everybody's waiting for. Core prices, the PCE GDP index, that's going to be on Thursday at 8:30. Durable goods, jobless claims. Oh my God, this Thursday is going to give something very, very interesting. Be careful for a push-up just to get smacked down. So we got 15-year notes, 15-year mortgage rates, and then we got 7-year note with Fed Bar speaking. And last is Friday, the 27th. Is going to be also towards the end of the month. That's why we're getting these core PCE information again. We'll mix it with GDP. And then you got Canada GDP in there. And then Michigan sentiment. This is the one that's going to be very, very volatile for Friday. So this is going to be a heavy week. Action left and right. If you thought quad witching was rough, now people are going to already have their positions because they've already pivoted from quad witching. And then now they're going to have to deal with all of this news information that's releasing. Let's just do one more recap of the commodities before we get out of here. First one is NQ. Looks like NQ is still pushing up. They really are trying to get up into that upper register. I think this downward trend is going to be tough for it. I don't think they pulled back enough. Let me see. What's this? Yeah, I think they try to use this area as like an order block. Let me go ahead and box this out for y'all. Let's just call it here. A little bit wider. Let's just call it here the order block. They kind of came into this area and they're like, we're going to go ahead and bounce it. I think they should have went a little bit lower before they did that. But this just tells me that we're probably going to get another divergences in some of those time frames that you know and love. So just keep an eye for that because that's probably what's going to drop the market. And then, not this wrong button. And then you got oil. Again, massive sell-off. Made a higher high, penetrated, but this massive sell-off is making me question a lot. Maybe they're going to bring it back down into some lower blocks and then bounce. So just keep that in mind. Looking at gold, I want to see gold get a little bit deeper down into that 32,300. No, sorry, 3300 to 3292, somewhere around there. That brings us to that 50 moving average. Silver pointing straight down with a cross. It should drag gold down, but we'll see. Here is the British pound. It is dropping, which should be strengthening the dollar. Look for that thing to kind of give you a strong deviation. If they feel this imbalance, oh yeah, we're going to get a massive push by the dollar. ES is pushing up just like NQ as the market is trying to rebalance itself, coming off of quad witching. Nothing really is moving in the small caps, so tiny candle. And then the last one is the dollar. We're almost done to get out of this box. I think they might fill this whole entire imbalance and bring us into that 100.5, somewhere around there, before they start thinking about reversing. Now, if this W pans out and it gets to that 102.0, oof, you're talking about a massive sell-off that could happen in the middle of the summer come July. So let's just see what the market does. That said, I want to say thank you very much for participating with BYTTT before you take the trade. Don't forget the links are down below so you can sign up for my one-on-ones. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and the bell button because it helps that algorithm stuff so that way they can go ahead and push me wherever they need me. So I want to say thank you, and I will see y'all tomorrow on time at 8 a.m. So I bid you a fond farewell and good luck. Have a great day.